tragic assassination of UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson sent shockwaves across the country, but behind the headlines lies a story that few knew about: Thompson's strained home life and possible path to divorce. At the time of his passing, Thompson and his wife Paulette, or Pauley as she's known, were reportedly living completely separate lives. While the power couple outwardly kept up appearances, reports show they had been separated for years, with Thompson even purchasing a second home just a mile away from his family. What caused this rift between the successful CEO and his wife? And what secrets were hidden behind their $1.5 million suburban home life in Minnesota? Let's dive into the secrets that no one saw coming. At first glance, Brian and Paulette Thompson appeared to have it all: a beautiful family, a successful career, and a luxury lifestyle. However, reports uncover a very different reality. By 2018, their marriage seemed strained enough for Brian to purchase a second home for $1 million, close to where his wife and their two sons were living in Maple Grove, Minnesota. The Thompsons' main residence, a $1.5 million home, had been their family hub for years. Paulette, a physical therapist working in Minneapolis, appeared active in her children's lives, sharing moments of boating, piano playing, and family outings on social media. But behind those Instagram pics was a separation that reportedly lasted for years, with Brian spending much of his time traveling for work or living in his second property down the street. On December 4th, Brian Thompson's life was cut short in a brazen targeted attack in Midtown Manhattan. Surveillance footage captured the chilling moment when the gunman got Brian from behind as he made his way to an investor conference at the New York Hilton Midtown. After the gunman fled on an electric city bike, Thompson was rushed to the hospital, but he didn't survive. The attack left many questions, including the unsettling possibility of prior warnings. Paulette told NBC News that Brian had received threats before his trip to New York. His estranged wife said, yes, there had been some threats, I don't know, a lack of coverage. While she didn't provide further details, the statement suggests Brian might have been aware of risks tied to his role at UnitedHealthcare. Following Brian's passing, Paulette issued a heart-wrenching statement to Fox 9. "We are shattered to hear about the senseless assassination of our beloved Brian. Brian was an incredibly loving, generous, talented man who truly lived life to the fullest and touched so many lives. Most importantly, Brian was an incredibly loving father to our two sons and will be greatly missed. We appreciate your well wishes and request complete privacy as our family moves through this difficult time." As Paulette grieves alongside their two sons, she remains a devoted mother, continuing to find strength. Sources describe Brian's life as one divided between corporate commitments and his attempts to keep his family ties intact, an emotional balancing act that came to light only after he passed away. Let's take a closer look at the properties that Brian and Paulette lived in during their long-lasting separation. Lately, many have been wondering, who was Brian Thompson, the CEO of UnitedHealthcare and the victim of an assassination on December 4th, 2024. Brian was a prominent yet relatively private figure who made some big moves in the healthcare industry during his 20-year career. While his professional accomplishments were well documented, his personal life was a little bit more off the radar. While Brian was assassinated in New York City and was thought to have a place there, records show he also owned two beautiful homes in Maple Grove, Minnesota. Interestingly, at the time of his passing, he was living separate from his wife Paulette in one of these homes. Today, we'll take a closer look at the properties that Brian called home, including one that spanned 5,200 square feet with features like a chef's kitchen, and the second home, which was reportedly even bigger. Brian Thompson, a prominent figure in the U.S. healthcare industry, led one of the nation's largest health insurers, UnitedHealthcare, since 2021, until he was assassinated on December 4th, 2024. Despite managing a business that impacted millions of Americans, Thompson maintained a relatively low public profile. During his time as CEO, he oversaw health coverage for over 49 million people, including Medicare Advantage and Medicaid plans, while managing a portfolio that generated $74 billion in quarterly revenue, with his annual compensation exceeding $10 million. Born in Ames, Iowa in 1974, Thompson excelled academically as valedictorian of South Hamilton High School, and later graduated with a degree in business administration and accounting from the University of Iowa. Early in his career, he worked at PricewaterhouseCoopers before joining UnitedHealth Group in 2004. He played a big part in increasing UnitedHealthcare's profits from $12 billion in 2021 to $16 billion in 2023. However, Brian's leadership also faced scrutiny due to rising claim denial rates, particularly in Medicare Advantage plans, prompting investigations by the Senate and ProPublica. On a personal level, Brian was married to Paulette Thompson, a physical therapist and fellow University of Iowa graduate with whom he shared 2 sons. Paulette often shared glimpses of her family life on Instagram, posting photos of vacations with her sons and moments of her and her husband actively participating in their sons' activities. I love spending time with my 2 boys and taking them to all of their activities. I also love boating, spending time with family and friends, playing piano, biking, and traveling, her work bio stated. One of Thompson's sons recently graduated while the other attended a public high school in Plymouth, Minnesota. The family resided in Maple Grove, Minnesota, where Thompson and his wife reportedly lived in separate residences at the time of his passing. While Brian Thompson was assassinated in New York City and was thought to stay there a lot, he was reportedly living in Minnesota, just not in the same home as his wife Paulette. Property records revealed that the couple resided in 2 different homes located less than a mile apart in the affluent suburb of Maple Grove, Minnesota. Maple Grove is just 20 minutes from Minneapolis and boasts the perfect blend of city amenities and small-town charm. Rich in history dating back to the mid-1800s, Maple Grove has grown into a progressive city with over 1,600 businesses and a high standard of living. The city boasts stunning natural beauty with 7 lakes, over 1,000 acres of parks, and more than 55 miles of trails. Brian and Paulette own 2 properties in Maple Grove, each placed into separate trusts in 2020. The first property, purchased by Brian in 2011 for just over $817K, spans 5,259 square feet and includes 5 bedrooms, 4.5 bathrooms, and sits on a 0.63 acre lot. This home is described as having high-quality features, including a spacious chef's kitchen, classic wood floors, and a lush backyard. The second property, acquired in 2018 for just under $1.1 million, is even larger, spanning nearly 6,400 square feet of space. It also boasts 5 bedrooms and 4.5 bathrooms nestled on a private lot with luxurious upgrades. Originally built in 2012, the listing described the home as exquisite, stunning, and beautifully maintained, offering high-end amenities and an inviting, serene atmosphere. Some features of this property included an open-concept chef's kitchen, black walnut hardwood floors, a porch with a glass fireplace, and a private deck. The layout catered to entertaining, with a formal dining room and a spacious living area with vaulted ceilings. It was said that personal touches throughout the property included a family photo gallery in the main hallway, a basketball hoop in the driveway for his sons, and a reading nook in the library, where Brian often worked on strategic initiatives for UnitedHealthcare. Brian's Minnesota homes reflected a traditional style, with handcrafted wood finishes and large gathering spaces. The larger property featured a home gym and a wine cellar, while the smaller home had a sunroom. The outdoor areas of the Minnesota properties were particularly striking, with landscape gardens, a fire pit for family gatherings, and space for recreational activities like hiking and cycling. It's been reported that Paulette lived in one of the nearby homes with the couple's younger son, while Brian resided in the other property. A neighbor mentioned that Brian had been traveling